So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexandra Guta. I'm a journalist, and I welcome you all to these two successive discussions about the transition of the Northern Greece innovation ecosystem in its new generation. Our first panel discussion is about strengthening our local ecosystem. And Mr. Gokolidis saved me a lot of time by introducing most of the speakers previously, many of the speakers previously. So I will start right ahead with Rois Webner. We've got here with us a representative of the second biggest innovation ecosystem in the world after Silicon Valley, Roy, as Lad mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. So Israel is very well known for having developed cybersecurity culture in its technological ecosystem. So my first question is how important is it for an ecosystem to have such a core culture, cybersecurity, for example? Elad also mentioned that maybe we should find our specialty here in Thessaloniki. How important it is? How can investors be persuaded to support it? Because it takes high levels of capital to develop a core culture. And how could the already existing cooperation between Greece and Israel help toward in this direction? Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, perfect. Thank you. As for the first part of the question, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to develop an ecosystem. This is not something that happens all at once, but it's a long-term investment. So once you start and you manage it correctly, it grows and grows and continue to grow. And this is what happened in Israel in the last couple of decades. And I think today what we see in Israel is really, on the way here, I had a discussion with my colleague, with Ami, and in Israel, every young person, wakes up in the morning and thinks about a new startup, and it's something that you don't even have to realize it. You just have to always look for problems to solve. So I think, in a way, this is the essence of the ecosystem in Israel. Now, how did we get to that? And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Israel, in the end, is a small place, and everybody pretty much knows everybody. I think it's quite similar here in Greece as well. And once you get to see in person a success case of someone who founded his own startup and made it, all of a sudden, you start believe that you also can do that. So in Israel, at the moment, we are now in a situation that really almost everybody had some kind of experience with this or that startup. But it takes time. As for the core culture, as you described it, I think that, on one side, it's very good, and we should do that, because for people and for companies, it's very easy to relate. I'm in cyber, they're specializing in cyber, let's go there. On the other hand, it can close doors for other companies. So we need to find the right path. How do we take the right, the right topics that Thessaloniki is strong with, and highlight them, but not give up on other topics. And in that sense, I think Tesintech is doing very well with the mega projects, if you're familiar with that concept, identifying different areas of strengths and highlighting them. And I'm sure that this will, provide the right yield for that investment. As for the cooperation between Israel and Greece, I think this is something that is getting stronger and stronger in the last years. And from what we see here, we believe that Tesintech and Thessaloniki has a lot to offer in that sense to Israeli companies. And we hope, to build a bridge. Elad talked about 100 flights coming between Israel and Greece. And, El Al opened a new line to Thessaloniki. And this is something that we would like to promote very much.
After all, you're very good at observing the time limit, eh? In contrast with what you said before.
I'm trying.
So Nikos, I would like to ask you, Nikos is the chairman of the board of directors of Thesentech, the fourth generation technology park of Thessaloniki. The Gavyam Negev, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Advanced Technologies Park is an important partner of Thesentech, Nikos. If I'm not mistaken, they are leasing almost 30% of the total surface of the park. So my question is, how could the Israeli presence in Thesentech help the international visibility of Thessaloniki, but also the development of innovation here in Thessaloniki? And also, it was mentioned many times during the presentations that the defense industry, the military sector, play an important role in technology and innovation development in Israel. Could you see something similar happening in Thesentech also?
Thank you, Alexandra. Alexandra, by the way, was one of my great allies in making this project happen many, many years ago. So before answering your question, I cannot hide my satisfaction with what we are achieving today, which was a mistake 23 years ago. And I would like to comment on some of our Israeli friends saying that a mistake is an important step to a success. So 23 years ago, my friend, most of us around this table were not really very good friends. The academic community was not very friendly with the business community. So was this, the research community. And the business community of that time in Greece had no intention to put our hands, including myself, our hands into our pockets for R&D expenses. So it's a great success after 23 years. I'm very happy that I made that fault at that time, that 23 years after, we are all together, and this is what Thesentech is, and this is what our cooperation with Basecamp is. Finally, Thessaloniki found out what it can be good at, what is its comparative advantage, which is nothing else but the human capacity of our academic society, of our research community, and of course, now with a lot of business R&D managers that are prepared and ready, and they are going to profit out of this. So a big mistake, but a very good mistake. The next point I wanted to make is that I wanted to comment on what, again, the previous speaker said about Athens and Thessaloniki. I was, 23 years ago, the president of the Federation of Industries of Northern Greece, and we had a big fight with Athens. But you very rightly said that it doesn't make any sense. Gavyam Advanced Park was made in the desert. So never mind Athens. It has a beautiful Acropolis, but so do we have Vergina. So really, at the end of the day, we have to believe in what we can do and make it happen. And we decided that we should do it in a different way than probably everybody else was thinking about, that we should do it in a fast and competitive way and creative way by realizing our weaknesses and our strengths. This is common business approach. So our strengths were the human capacity and our companies, but our weakness was that we did not really know the ecosystem development in the same way that our partners from Israel knew. So that's really the reason that we partnered, although we have our own idea and capabilities of the ecosystem. We know they can do it better. They have done it better. 93. We've done many mistakes. You have done many mistakes, and I hope we will not do the same mistakes. That's why we are partnering with you. So today, I'm extremely happy to coming to your questions. I'm extremely happy to say that Gavyam High-Tech Advanced Park was really the first stage of our approach with Israel, because that was we had an MOU with them on know-how. Mm-hmm. What really happened and what is the present step is that the Innovation Center and the founders of Gavyam Technology Park partnered with us, and together with a fund from Israel, that they did a company, and that is Basecamp company in Greece. They're forming their own company. So we took the best out of what they had there, including their CEO. And we are developing the same thing here.
Because unfortunately we ran out of time. A very short comment about the defense industry.
I think that, again, this is the right time for Greece. You know the reasons. We did not really pay so much attention about our defense industry. Now, in the last couple of years, we do pay a lot of attention, and there are a lot of companies around defense in all around Greece. We are going to pay a lot of attention on defense, and we are having a very good cooperation with the GEFA, with the military, and their experience of that. In Beersheba, they had how many thousand soldiers in cybersecurity?
We're going to have about 6,000.
6,000.
So the defense industry will have a presence in Thesentech, and I would like to pass the floor to Thodoris Karapantsios, Vice President of the Research Committee of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Thodoris, welcome. Having a strong innovation system seemed to be rather impossible without having a strong university. We saw many things being done over the previous years. Thousands of researchers working, if I'm not mistaken, over 7,000 researchers, many projects, many million euros in projects. So what is the plan for the next 2 years? This is my question.
Alexandra, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for being generous, saying that we are a strong university. We definitely believe that. So far, about 1/3 of our projects are related to industry, so it's not that bad. But it must be better. So our plans for the next 2 years, which is like a short visit, short site, is to increase that. We'd like to reach and be attractive to more companies, especially small and medium-sized companies that so far have been either without resources or without the right mentality to collaborate with us. But to do that, we believe we have to make the first step. We have to build the bridge. We have to build the confidence, the trust with them, because they are busy trying to make their living, while for us it must be a little easier. And that's why the university now thinks that the new generation of researchers should be educated not only to deliver a high-level technology or high-level service, but also have the capacity and the skill to communicate effectively with business. Because it should be us making the first step, it should be us doing the major effort to bring us together and familiarize with each other. So speaking of that, I think there is a very important step that the University of Thessaloniki did. We have been establishing, and we have the inauguration next month of the new Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is going to be the event in June sometime. And I think this is very important because it includes an accelerator, innovation accelerator. They already accepting applications, as far as I know, for new startups. So all these things intend to show to the ecosystem that we are willing to make steps towards the business people. We do not expect them to do the major effort. We don't expect them to do everything. But to be fair, answering this question, one should be also look at the business people. So we must give them some motivation, some help, perhaps some tools to make it easier and not so time-consuming for them to reach us and be able to start discussing together and try to make services and new technologies. I have to say the following, that Thessaloniki has been quite attractive to also local industries, although I think most of our strong partnerships are without the local people, the local players, because they are rather small. But yes, they exist, and we think we have a good future ahead about the next 2 years.
So you are optimistic that this bond could get stronger, but let's say today it's 1/3 of projects with the private sector. Is there a target about how many projects should be done?
I know you're asking for numbers. I would not give you any number, but I think we would like to go to about half. But
Okay.
This is quite ambitious, because what we did so far is that we really complete the effort that has started before. Mm-hmm. Now we are going to attract new people, new companies. So this effort is not the same as before. Before it was like quite mature to reach out this 1/3. Now going to half is more demanding.
Thank
so
you very
be
much.
optimistic, but not flying to the sky.
Okay. That's a realistic approach. Dimitris Zovaras is our next speaker. He's the chairman of CERT. CERT is expanding with new investments, Dimitris. We heard a lot about your investments over the last few months. And at the same time, you're collaborating with multinational and national companies and doing some very interesting projects. So my question is, what are the main changes you have observed in Thessaloniki's and Northern Greece ecosystem over the last few years? This is a main question, yes.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to give the view of CERT on the innovation ecosystem of Northern Greece. I would like to picture to you the third slide, I think, of your presentation, Roy, which was the empty desert. So this is how we started in 2013 at CERT. We have the two spin-off companies, one very successful, the other one not very successful. And there was no mindset on our employees, but also on the senior researchers towards entrepreneurship. And then what happened the next years is that many people took the risk to start a spin-off company. We have 18 spin-off companies now, some of them very successful. But we have also gained through all the new opportunities that the government has given us. For example, we built a competence center. We participate in a large number of clusters in digital innovation hubs, and with this, this gives us the opportunity to collaborate with many small and medium enterprises, but also larger companies. In general, I think what we're talking about is the mindset. We started 2013 like Israel, but we don't have the same pace. We need to move now faster. We need to take more risks. And in this direction, CERT is, of course, supporting Thesintech and all similar activities in Northern Greece. And I think there is a big opportunity for Thessaloniki specifically, but also Northern Greece, and this is the arrival of all these big, large companies, which build an ecosystem around them. So there is an opportunity for employees, for mobility of employees, and we are seeing this with better salaries, better opportunities to get better positions of, and of course of the small and medium enterprises of the region. To collaborate with them, to face more difficult problems, more international problems, and in this way to create more innovation. I want to add something on the defense sector that you mentioned before. As you may know, NATO is supporting through Diana program all SMEs worldwide, and there are 3 test centers in Greece, in Forth, Democritos, and CERT. And through this test center, we are planning to host a large number of SMEs working in the defense sector. And of course, since the availability of space at CERT is 0 at this point, we will try to get benefit of Thesintech and Mega Project 3, artificial intelligence and simulation
the time
application.
frame for this runs in parallel with Thesintech's
Not really. It actually comes a little bit earlier, so it will start this year. So maybe next year we will have to host some SMEs. But of course, there's always a period where we can host them in some of our space and some of the space that we will build with RRF and European Investment Bank funding that's coming in the next 3 years.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. And I would like to pass the floor to Alexandros Minas, Principal Director of Accenture. Hello, Alexandros.
Hello, hello.
As a representative of a multinational company here in Thessaloniki, I would like to ask you, what would you say are the key strengths and weaknesses of the Thessaloniki ecosystem, and how could it be strengthened?
Thank you, Alexandra, for the question and for the invitation to this beautiful panel. Let me start by saying that One, the successful development of an innovation ecosystem is highly linked to the foreign investments as they increase the national competitiveness and help the international knowledge transfer. So for sure, there are significant efforts over the last years to attract more investments in North Greece from the digital multinational enterprises, what we're calling the digital MNEs, utilizing two main strengths of our region. The first one is the geographic location. It's obvious. And the second one is the human capital. There is a very large number of talents emerging from the academic and the research institutions of the wider region of Thessaloniki. Talents that with the proper guidance and coaching, they can become great professionals who can not only consume but also produce innovation, and this is the target. And this was the main driver for Accenture to invest and select Thessaloniki as its second location in Greece. Now, despite all efforts, there is still room for improvement in order to reform the local economy and transform it to a more attractive investment destination for the digital MNEs. I want to highlight 2 points. The first one is the gap we see when it comes to senior profiles and to expertise in digital technologies. Given that we have increased demand all these years, we need to have seniority in the local market to cope with this increased demand. For sure, the international companies that have already invested in Thessaloniki are creating job opportunities and job offerings to start closing this gap day after day. And the second point is I want to highlight is the infrastructure, digital infrastructure on one hand, because we all know that the digital MNEs have connectivity in their blood to operate and to grow. So we need to secure the availability of reliable 5G infrastructure. And the mega project started, I think, recently, the ultra-fast broadband infrastructure to cover entire Greece. There are delays and needs to run at a faster pace. And one last point that I want to highlight also for the infrastructure is the availability of buildings. Buildings that meet the security and capacity standards of the international companies. And from our personal experience, really we struggle a lot to find the proper building in Thessaloniki that meets the security standards we have as Accenture. I think infrastructure is very important to make Thessaloniki and North Greece an attractive international destination for investments.
Thank you very much, Alexandros. So digital infrastructure, office spaces that are suitable for the needs of big companies, but also the lack of human talent, which seems to be a problem. There are many companies that are starting technology associate programs right now in order to bring people from the universities even to the medium level. So this is quite important.
Right. We are also following a Get Trained, Get Hired program with cooperation with universities in order to train people to market-relevant technologies and increase the expertise.
Thank you very much. So, Roy, back to you. I think you were the one that mentioned it, that real estate is not enough. Maybe it was a lad, I'm not sure. Developing buildings is not enough. Any country or city who would like to develop a strong ecosystem should create the incentives in order to help companies thrive and help employees be satisfied with their working life. So according to your experience, what should Thessaloniki do in this level in order to build an ecosystem with strong companies and satisfied employees? And also, could you speak about particular incentives that the Greek government, maybe, or the local government should give in such parks? And also, that was a set of questions, actually, but you still have to answer them in 3.5 minutes.
I will try.
Okay, the lack of talent. Israel faces a lack of talent problem that becomes apparent to Greece also. So what is the best way to address this problem?
So as for what Thessaloniki has to do, so we started talking about infrastructure, and no doubt, as the infrastructure will be more and more developed, it will be easier to commute, it will be easier to buy services, it will be easier to get better education, etc., etc. So obviously, from the infrastructure point of view, there is always where to improve. This is something that it's true to everywhere. I think if I will take it to a more maybe philosophical point of view, I think, and I'm going back to what I spoke about in my presentation, it's the most important factor is to make sure that everybody here are hungry for success. And from what I'm seeing throughout the last couple of years, and especially now in this panel and in my visit now, for us it feels very good. This is the mentality and the mindset that we will all need in order to create the right ecosystem for the companies, for the manpower, and going back to the quote, it should be an ecosystem rather than an ecosystem. And it's very easy to speak about it now, and then Nikos talked about 23 years ago that the academy didn't see the same way as the industry. It's all about matter of pace. How fast we will all be able to cooperate in a way that benefit the ecosystem. It means sometimes to make sure that your interests are aligned with other interests. Sometimes it means that you have to take risk and do something that maybe it's not obvious the meaning, but it can have positive consequences. So I think from our point of view, make sure that everybody are aligned and hungry for success. So this was the first question. Secondly, as for the incentives of the government, this is an issue that we have to address once there is a new government. Obviously, we would like to bring our experience from Israel. The government in Israel along the years made some very smart decisions about how to motivate companies and investors to take risk. It's all about taking risk. Coming into a city where high tech is not mature yet, it's a risk for any company. How do we make the best atmosphere for them to take that risk? So this will be our focus regarding the incentives. I'm trying to remember the last part was about talent.
It was about the lack of human talent, but
Yeah.
before I go to that, I would like to ask you, could you mention one or two moves that the Israeli government did in order to make people feel good at the desert?
Yeah, so I think it's a very different situation in Beersheba than it is in Thessaloniki, but at the beginning the government went a very long way providing incentives for the first companies that we were able to partner and show that they are interested. It went all the way to subsidizing 40% of the cost of the salaries of the first 150 employees of that company. We had several companies engaged in that program. One of them was Dell. Back then it was EMC. It was the first company to engage. And but we had to bring them to the table. The government official had to hear it from them that this is something that will mitigate their risk, because the risk is not just coming here. It's not opening in China, not opening in India, not opening in other locations that are much cheaper in a way. And again, we have to focus on how we mitigate the risk for the companies, and on the other hand, boost the level of employment. which is an interest of the government.
I took all the time about the question about the human talent. Unfortunately, maybe we'll have some time to address this
Sure. All right.
later. So, Mr. Efthymiadis, Nikos, we often talk about numbers referring to Thesentech exclusively. There is some data concerning the spillover of Thesentech to the ecosystem, but I would like to ask once again, what do you expect in terms of new startups, new patents, new businesses in general, thanks to Thesentech in the years to come? And another question, could Thessaloniki ever become an incubator for dreamers all over the world?
Well, first of all, let me show you a little bit the picture. Can we put the picture? I want to show you 3 slides very quickly. Before that, that's where Thesentech is, near the airport of Thessaloniki, just on the sea, and next to a beautiful area of Perea with all sorts of facilities for doing everything everybody wishes to do for a good style of life. This is what we intend to do in about 2.5 years from today, 2 years from today. And this is where I would like to stay a little bit more, and that's the last picture. I don't want to make any more presentations. And there is a particular reason why I say that. There are similarities but differences from Beersheba and Thessaloniki. We were lucky to have made a lot of preparatory work before we start. So, and the most important thing is that 2 or 2.5 years from actually getting in there, to work in there, these mega projects that we were talking about nanotechnology or about artificial intelligence or energy or the defense industry, are already, no, the defense industry is not working yet, but all the mega projects that we are developing in Thesentech, they are already working now. The people are cooperating. There are synergies. We are meeting together with Mr. Zovaras and with the university. Our biggest asset is that the university and the research community is already in those 3 buildings that are already there, and they have the money to do it. So 2 years before we start, we have the university, the research institutes. We have about 100 companies that have MOUs with us to participate, and we have the Israeli best technology providers and development people to come and join us. They have, as Alexandra said, about 30% of our total area. We have been well prepared. We bargained quite a lot. They're very hard negotiators. And we have an agreement that really is based on mutual trust and productivity and competitiveness and end results. Yes, we are hungry in Thessaloniki. We are ready and hungry, not hungry without being ready. So that is really the difference. That's what we are really based on. So will Thessaloniki will ever become a hub? I think absolutely yes. With this kind of preparation and this kind of partnership and this geographic position, we would be really losing something very important if we don't. We have about 120,000 students coming out of this university every year. Yes, there may be a possibility of lack of talent, but there is a breeding of talent already now. There is a goodwill from the university to understand that it's not only the diplomas that we're looking for, we're also looking for employees that will be working in our companies with those kind of capacities and training that we need rather than just a diploma. So I think everything goes very close to the possibility that we have done our homework well. We have university and the research institutes as our partners. We even have the municipality as our partner. It's not very common in Greece to have all these people working together. We're not very good in cooperation, but we are determined to cooperate right now. And you can see it very obviously in this panel. So the odds are right.
Thank you. It seems that we are doing a good job lately for building an ecosystem instead of an ecosystem, as Roy said. So Theodoris, sufficient and efficient technology and innovation transfer from universities to the market is a long-standing dream in Greece, but in practice it is moving in a very slow pace. What is missing in order to reach the desirable speed, and how close are we?
Okay, this is an interesting question, and I think if one wants to give an answer, it has to look at two directions. One, the direction of the education, which is the university mostly, but the other direction of a business has also a major part. So I think that, yes, we move slow, but we move less slow than before. So far we have about 10 spin-offs, but by the end of this year we expect them to be 30. So this is already some major improvement. And this is because the university has decided to take some steps, like take some of the administration load, organize, and Thessaloniki University is excellent in that, organize a technology transfer office with people that know, that can provide advice, can provide instruction, also help with the patents and the intellectual properties problems. So all this, let's say, backup effort from the university is there, was not there before, it's there now. So I think, yes, indeed, we are starting a new business era with them. But I would like to say there is a difference between having spin-offs, having businesses that start from zero and go alone, fly alone, with the businesses that are, the university supports the R&D of a company already existing that try to be more competitive. So having your own business, running your own business from zero is more demanding. There is a mistake here. The ecosystem that my colleagues here spoke before require from the scientists to be equally good businessmen. This is wrong. A scientist is a very reserved person, a person that would never dream make business. It happened to this guy that has an excellent idea. So this guy, the scientist, needs support, needs somebody to tell him how and the way to do it, how and when. And this is a major thing that the state could do to help us both, because the bureaucracy is so difficult, so time-consuming, that for scientists it is discouraging. You see, business people, like Roy said, wake up in the morning thinking that they are going to do business anyhow. Scientists not. We are not desperate to do business. We need to be challenged. We need to be motivated. We need to be offered a good, beautiful option. Without this option, we stay where we are and we do things we know we do good. So it is not only the scientists to take the blame on that. We need some things to go easier, so we take our chances to try and try.
What should go easier, Theodoris?
Say it again, please.
What is it that should go easier for scientists?
If you see what's happening in the United States, and I'm sure something similar happens in Israel, within a day you can start up a business, you can fill a form, and you can expect things running smoothly behind you, not having hidden extras. In Greece, the hidden extras are the rule, and you have to have a big stomach and be prepared for the storm to come to you. This is not the way to encourage young people. You cannot ask people to wake up with a business dream if this is the case, if this is what they have to face. We have to change that. So it's not a simple question. That's what I'm trying to say.
That must be especially true for scientists who tend to be more introverted than entrepreneurs. So Dimitris, generative artificial intelligence, blockchain, mixed reality, medtech, many different things. Technology is changing the world as we know it. So my question is our ecosystem ready to present something in these fields? And if not, what should be done?
Thank you for the question. It is very relevant to my expertise also. It is I think it would be interesting to hear that in 1992 I did my diploma thesis on neural networks. And it was really a disaster. Nothing was actually working well. It was about image recognition and object recognition. So I was not the only one not being that successful. It was the structure of the problem that could not be solved with the neural networks of this era. At 2010, it turned out that with the new, with the huge memories and with the new computing systems, it is possible now to run much more complicated neural networks, to train them, and to solve problems that analytical systems could not solve for many years. So now in 2023, I would have a different perspective for AI than for blockchain, metaverse, and VR. So AI is here to stay. That's my position. Concerning the others, they are mainly applications. Their tools are basically applications of other systems. So talking about AI, of course, the ecosystem of Thessaloniki is ready to contribute. We have new scientists coming from universities, knowing very well about deep neural networks and their applications, so they are ready to contribute. There are many SMEs. Most of the startups, I would say 95%, not less than 90%, have an AI dimension in their idea. So this gives a big opportunity for small countries like Greece. So an SME with a very good idea in this perspective can be a worldwide leader and can be a unicorn in some years. So there is a big opportunity for the ecosystem, and I really believe that at CERT, at the universities in Greece, at the other research centers, we are really ready to contribute. There are many startups that can contribute in this direction. Talking about startups, I would also like to add that we have given support by the government in our technology transfer offices, and we expect that this would give a big help to our researchers. It is not always the fact that the researcher should become an entrepreneur. The researcher should meet an entrepreneur and do business together. This is what we will do in ThesInTech for sure, and this is what where we see the future, not only in this ecosystem, I think in general.
It's certainly not black and white, so cooperation is very important, as you mentioned. I have a question. If the banks are now able to recognize innovation in a startup, but we don't have much time, unfortunately. So very shortly, if
yes, very shortly. I think that the VCs are now more mature, and business angels are also more mature. They are trained. And they are, as we saw before in the second talk, they are ready to see in 1,000 applications of new AI startups, which ones could have some future. And I think this is the direction they're going to take.
So everything is in place right now. And I would like to close with our discussion with Alexandros. Alexandros, in September 2022, if I'm not mistaken, Accenture inaugurated its new technology center here in Thessaloniki. What are your plans for the next 5 years? And how do you see Accenture's presence in Thessaloniki and Northern Greece ecosystem in general?
Well, our ambition is to further increase our presence in Thessaloniki. You mentioned, Alexandra, 200 people. This was our initial target. Our next target is 500 people by 2025. And our long-term target is to reach a 4-digit number in terms of headcount, in line with similar technology centers operated by Accenture in Europe and all over the globe. But the important thing is not only to grow in terms of headcount. The important thing is to grow and give opportunities to the people to gain experience in order to start creating this ecosystem. And I believe that we have great talents in Thessaloniki. We simply need to grow them. And this is one of the purpose of every company investing in Thessaloniki. Not only to get, but also to give. Also in parallel, we are strengthening our relationship with the academic community, which is very, very important, with guest lectures in order to present how the technology can give value and can be used in the actual business world. We will continue and expand the innovation days that we run, like the last one with the support of the municipality of Thessaloniki, with theme Tech for Good. We had different teams building a pilot application to address problems we face in our community, like environment protection, sustainability, etc. And one last point that I want to say is in Greece we are operating a global center of excellence. This center is located in Athens under the area of applied intelligence with more than 150 data scientists who actually produce innovation in the area of machine learning, generative AI, space analytics. We serve global accounts from this center of excellence. Our target, given that we have this experience in Greece, is to start building this skill set also to the people that we get in Thessaloniki in order to support the development and the growth of this innovation ecosystem in North Greece.
Mm-hmm. We have about 1 minute. There is a question from the audience. Do you think Thessaloniki has the critical mass to fuel the growth rates proposed in terms of startups and, more important, startup employees? I don't know if someone would like to answer to this question in 40 seconds, actually. Does Thessaloniki have the potential, the critical mass to fuel the growth rates proposed for the city?
I would say that this is a challenging question because you have to predict the future. But from our experience, in Beersheba, the city of Beersheba had, when we started, 200,000 people living in it, and in addition, additional 15% students. And we were able to achieve quite a lot in that sense. And number-wise, I think Thessaloniki is in a much better starting position. So our feeling is that absolutely the answer is yes. But like our friends here said, we have to train them and let them get the right experience, and this will come in turn. Yeah.
Okay, so we are closing our discussion with okay.
Comment on that, Thessaloniki is not just the metropolitan city. It is the whole North Greece that is going to contribute on that. If there are better paid jobs with better opportunities, I think people of the whole North Greece, whole Greece, will find their way in Thessaloniki. So
maybe
this
would
is
attract
what I
people
expect.
from Athens and
From
the Balkans,
yes.
or
why not?
from abroad, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you all for your time and for being with us today.
Thank you, Alexander.
We have another panel at 5 o'clock.
So I would like to invite the participants of the next panel